All right, welcome back, Gap Nation. Welcome to another Zoomcast. Today we got a couple special guests. We got talking about the 2016 and 17 U.S. Open competitor Chris Crawford there in the bottom right of my screen. Chris, give a wave. There you are. And also his caddy and golf coach, Ben Feld, who's still with the Drexel University Dragons. Also on the call, just like we did with Michael and Jeff Osberg a few days ago, we have Tony Regina, Assistant Communications Director, as well as Dan Schofield, another Assistant Communications Director. And those are the guys that really run the department. I just get all the accolades. Well, you know, I got to give you some props. So, hey, Ben and Chris, thanks for taking some time today as we revisit the U.S. Open from back a few years ago. But let's just chat, like, you know, how are you guys doing today with this pandemic? Everything okay with you and your households?
At the end of the day, we're all kind of going through the same kind of stuff. And, you know, myself, family, friends, loved ones, we're all healthy. So, you know, keeping things in perspective, you know, feel fortunate in that regard. You know, but the human side of it, it's challenging. We're, you know, luckily, you know, work has kept me busy for the bulk of the days, but, you know, it's still, you know, I heard on I think it was Jeff on yesterday's podcast or on the cast that he's got scheduled breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And, you know, we're trying to get from one to the next. And, you know, it's 2:00 and we're talking about, you know, what are we doing for dinner every day? So, yeah, that kind of tells the story. But hopefully this is, you know, not too much longer until we're out of the woods.
And you're in Conshohocken, Ben?
No, we're down in Center City, Browning, Colorado.
Okay. And how about you, Chris? Where are you at, and is everything going okay with you?
I'm in Florida. Yeah, everything's been okay. Honestly, at least from talking to everyone back home, the response down here has been a little different, I think, than you guys have had. It was a lot slower to react as a state. People for a while were kind of acting like, honestly, not a whole lot was going on. And we got the lockdown order a couple of days ago. And so I've been, you know, my work is in permanent pause right now. I have no idea when the next golf tournament I'm going to play is. And, you know, most of the days are just been mostly just doing a lot of nothing. Honestly, our golf course was open for a while, but then we had a member test positive last week. So they had to shut everything down for at least a minimum of a couple of weeks. And so, yeah, just hanging out and trying to survive this like everyone else.
Before, Tony, before you take it over here, let me just ask, Chris, what tour are you playing? What kind of mini tour are you playing, and whereabouts in Florida are you?
I'm in Sarasota, so west side. I've played a lot of West Florida mini tour events, a couple mini tours in Florida, mostly West Florida. And then I have status on Latin America and Canada, but the Latin America status is stronger, where I probably would have expected to play a couple events in like the mid first half of the season maybe, but now that's completely up in the air, so I have no idea.
I seem to remember you competing in a Mackenzie Tour event mid-March when this whole thing broke. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was right when it broke. I was in Alabama. That was second week of March, I think.
Yeah, second week of March.
That was when everything started to you know, really get serious, it seemed like. So that was, yeah, it was like March 10th, somewhere around there.
Yeah, toward the end of the tournament, March 13th, the tournament wrapped up, and I think a lot of states went into lockdown mode shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance we weren't even going to finish that Q school.
I think it was one of the only sporting events in the country going on those last 2 days.
I think it was. I think you're right. And it probably shouldn't have been happening, honestly. But
yeah, so I'll start with the questioning. We're going to take a trip down memory road, as Marty calls it. We're headed to 2016.
Hey, settle down there, Regina, right? Just settle down. Road, Regina, you know, nice alliteration. You're all about that? Like, relax.
We wanted to talk about sectional qualifying for U.S. Open in 2016. What a memorable day for the two of you at Canoe Brook. We'll start with Chris, and then Ben, if you could share your perspective after Chris shares his perspective. If you could just relive the sequence of events on your 36th hole that day, Chris, the 18th at Canoe Brook from tee to finish. Just recap your perspective of what that sequence was like.
Well, there was a fair amount of leadoff that put me in not a great spot, really, standing on that tee box. But the 18th hole there it's like around 600 yards, par 5. It's not uneasy. It's a 3-shot hole. pretty narrow. I think there's trees down both sides, although the next year we went back and I think they took out a few of those trees up by the green. But, I just 3-putted 17, my 35th hole. Honestly, mostly nerves. I hit a good drive and a decent wedge, and then hit a pretty bad, like 2 or 3 foot putt that I don't think touched the hole. And I got to 18. I think Ben had a better idea of where everything stood than I did. I don't remember if I knew. I think I probably knew on 18T what I needed to do. It was probably like 17 fairway, 17 green is when I kind of had an idea of what it was going to take. I tried to compose myself and hit a good tee shot on 18, and I just hit a terrible pull hook way left, 80 yards left of that fairway into that adjoining, it's like 13
fairway, yeah.
And I was okay over there. I found the ball. I was a little nervous about even finding the ball. Ben walked off the yardage, like probably walked off 160, 170 yards down that fairway. And because the tree line down the entire left side made it impossible to try to play a shot back. I mean, I could have, but I would have had to hit either a huge slice or some sort of punch iron that left me with a really long third shot. It just wasn't going to happen. And so what? It felt like it was taking forever, and I guess it probably did. Didn't matter at that point. And we were like maybe the last group or the second to last group on the golf course, I think. And so I remember hitting like, I think 8 iron down the other fairway, and had like probably had like 185-ish still in over those trees, because I know I hit 6 iron. And I think I hit the 6 iron pretty well. I want to say I pushed it a little bit. I like barely cleared that tree that was not that far ahead of us, and did not know that I ended up on the green because I couldn't really see anything. So I think we heard a couple like very polite minor claps, because at that point there was a pretty big group on the green. So I knew it was okay. I knew I at least had a chance of making 5, and 5 would have been in a playoff at that point. So we got up there, saw the balls on the green. I was thrilled. The fact that I didn't have to try to get up and down from some spot to that back left pin. And I don't know, I remember the putt wasn't, we looked at it, and I think we kind of looked at each other and were like, it doesn't have a lot of movement to it. It's uphill, it's long, but as far as those types of putts go, it's not really that difficult. Just give it a try. Just give it a chance. And that was my only thought on the putt, was just give it a chance. And after that, I don't really remember.
And Chris, that was like a 40 footer-ish?
Yeah, it was probably 35, 40, probably in that range. And I remember, I think we tried to play the putt a couple inches of break outside the right edge. I don't know if Ben, if you remember the same thing.
Yeah.
And
pretty much.
I think I hit it a little hard, and it kind of caught that left edge and dove in.
Ben, if you could share your perspective as a caddy, as Chris's caddy, on that last hole that day, what are your recollections?
Yeah, I remember, I had an idea of where we stood, kind of, coming 14, 15. I remember we made a bogey on 16, which put us in a position where I knew that if we were able to play the last 2 holes at even, that we would be in, because I think we were either the last or second to last group, and if we were second to last, the group behind us was non-factors to the qualifying. So the first time all day, other than knowing where he stood after the morning round that Chris asked me, where he stood, was walking down 17 fairway, and he's like, hey, you know what we need to do? And I said, yeah, if we play these next 2 at even, we're in. So if I recall, he hits either a gap wedge or a pitching wedge into 17, maybe 20, 25 feet left of the pin. Left that putt 3 feet short, and there was just nothing comfortable about the putt, and he looked like he wanted no parts of it. And lagged it up there and tapped in for 5. And at that point there was not a whole lot that we needed to say. We knew what we needed to do on 18 to either 1, qualify outright, or 2, be in a playoff. And miles left off the tee. I remember, looking at it, and the first thing that I saw was the play up the left fairway. You know, we briefly discussed, you know, trying to hit some longer kind of club, you know, some kind of high cut slice over the
that's right.
trees. And it was, for whatever reason, I remember, you know, I remember saying something to Chris. I was like, all we need to do is, you know, is stay alive, right? All we have to do is stay alive here. So let's do what we need to do to give ourselves some kind of manageable shot into the green. So paced up the 13th fairway, 160-ish yards. You know, it took forever. There was a gathering up on the green of all the guys that were up there, either, you know, rooting for Chris to make 5 or 6. You know, and we're pacing back, and the farther up you got, the taller the trees got. So had Chris hit it, you know, 180, 190 yards, there was fairway there, but it wasn't feasible to hit that third shot over those trees. So we had to lay a little bit further back to give ourselves kind of like an angle. And we hit the shot up the fairway. And Chris, if I recall, I think that when you blocked the 6-iron, it actually like clipped some leaves.
I think it hit a leaf. I think you're right. Yeah.
And I don't know whether that helped or hurt it or whatever, but you know, we got up onto the green, and both of us were talking about making it. Like, we're talking about giving it a chance. That was really the only thought. Like, my mind hadn't quite gotten to the possibility of a playoff yet, because we still had this putt in front of us to qualify outright. And, you know, I'm up there tending the flag, and Chris hits it, and about halfway there, I'm like, if the read was good, then this has a chance. And it had a little bit of pace to it. I was definitely a little late to pulling the flag stick out. I got a little traumatized watching the ball, but the hole kind of popped out, the left side of it, grabbed the ball and pulled it in, and I know we went wild.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was the immediate reaction? I know Dan's got a question for you guys, but what's the immediate reaction when that drops?
I mean, I think Chris looked at me. I mean, we immediately embraced, really, and he just looks at me and said, how about that? How about that? I think were the lines, and, you know, I'm probably dropping expletives all over the place.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure you're a little excited, right?
I mean, it was surreal. Like I tweeted this week, coolest moment that I've ever had on the golf course, bar none.
I think it's pretty fair to say that putt and the photos that followed went viral. Definitely a moment for amateur history. I know the USGA used it as a poster moment for their Road to the Open, and because of that, my question is, what did it mean, Chris, the first time qualifying for the U.S. Open, and then Ben, what did it mean to be on the bag for your friend and one of your players?
Well, I was like kind of in a state of almost like shock initially, and you know, it's such a long day, 36 holes. There's so many different ups and downs, the emotions. I didn't expect any of that to necessarily happen at the beginning of the day, even though obviously it's the goal. But yeah, I just felt really, I don't know, I just felt really happy and content with the day, with what we did and with what, you know, how everything went. I just felt so satisfied with putting in a lot of work and playing a lot of what I felt like was pretty good golf going into that tournament. And then to have it work out was just, I don't know, it was just a great feeling.
And Ben, what did that mean to be on the bag with Chris that day?
Yeah. You know, the lead up to that event, you know, just a couple weeks prior to that was the tail end of Chris's collegiate career, you know, where, you know, he had been at this for 3 years, really, you know, with a goal of winning the CAA championship, you know, as an individual, and down at the St. James Plantation at the end of April, you know, had some disappointment there. You know, came up a couple shots short, you know, of the ultimate goal. And, you know, Chris's bounce back percentage, we always talked about in, you know, in college, if Chris made a bogey, you know, you could pencil in a couple birdies coming right back. He was so resilient. so tough in the mind. And this was this was another example of that where, there was some disappointment that he had to deal with, that we all had to deal with when, the end goal wasn't met at the end of his collegiate career. And in Chris fashion, he answered in a big way. And, we didn't really talk about what the expectations were going into that day at all. We played an amazing back nine in his first round in the morning, and we got in
4 or 5 under, right?
So I think he shot 7 under.
Yeah.
5 or 6, it was 6 under on the back nine, maybe. And
I think it was birdies on every hole other than the par 5s. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. All short and reachable. We got into lunch and saw we were leading and kind of just went out and played golf in the afternoon. It meant everything, being able to be there, having, been with him, for the previous 4 years was really why I had chosen to stay on and continue to coach after I graduated, was to see him through the rest of his career, and to be there in that moment, and to, potentially have helped half a shot, to put him in that spot. It meant everything.
So Tony, before I know you got a follow-up question here, Tony, but let me hop in here. Chris, what's when you guys, and even Ben, you can answer this if you want to. When you guys playing events like U.S. Open qualifying, or even the Gap Patterson Cup or Mid-Am or the Amateur, how do you guys approach a day like that? Do you just go in and play your game, and if that puts you near the top of the leaderboard, then do you adjust the way you're playing down the end, or do you try not to think about the leaderboard, or do you want to know, hey, I'm in 3rd right now, I need 2 more birdies to get to the top of the board? Like, how do you approach a big day like that?
Well, to answer the question, I guess, yes, I just try to mostly show up and just try to play the best I can and kind of let the cards fall where they may. I always like playing 36-hole days a lot because I thought that was easier to do, because you have so many holes ahead of you that you don't have enough time really to think about what my score is on this hole, what I'm going to shoot, you know what I mean, where you stand. It's just so much golf, and you know that so much can happen that you're almost just trying to outlast everybody. At least that's the way I thought about it. So I liked having a lot of holes ahead of me. And yeah, I don't know if Ben feels the same way. I'm thinking he probably does, but you just show up and try to play your game, play the strategy that you have decided in advance, and, trust that that's going to be good enough when it comes down to the end.
Yeah. I echo a lot of that. Chris and I play golf at somewhat different levels, but we've engaged in conversation quite a bit, specifically kind of as it pertains to Gap events in terms of what the mentality is, and how do you win golf tournaments, and you create all of these scenarios in your head, and you can look back on so many, and you never have to do quite what you think you need to do, to be there at the end. And just by continuing to play golf and continuing to hit shots and really seeing where the cards fall at the end of the day, if you can stay present and just continue to execute shots, some days it's going to put you there, and some days other guys are going to beat you, just because there are so many good players. You can show up and play really, really well, and some guy lights the world on fire, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything wrong in how you approached the day. It just, it goes to show you just the depth and how many good players there are out there.
I wanted to put a bow on the 2016 U.S. Open, and this question is to Chris. Chris, when you look back on that week at Oakmont, what stands out as your fondest memory?
Oh, man.
I'm sure you have a collection of it, but what strikes you when you think about that time?
I really liked the weekend before the event when I first got there and got to take everything in without anybody else on the property. you know, like, cause you get there on Saturday, you did registration, and, you know, there's no fans. There's just the guys that you know, you recognize guys walking around on the range. These tour guys, you know, well, now you can wear shorts, but back then, you know, they were wearing shorts, very relaxed. So you have Oakmont to yourself, basically, as like your own personal playground for 2 days before any fans or anyone shows up. And it's just so cool walking around there by yourself. I forget if I played 9 or 18 holes. I might have just played 9 both days. And, you know, I think like Duffner was in the group ahead of us with like his coach and caddy. Jordan Spieth's out there, like just walking around. And I don't know, you're looking around the property and it's like, my God, this place is unbelievable. And it was so hard that weekend before too, because we actually got rain on Thursday, obviously, and I think Wednesday night too. But it was firm and fast and so difficult in that weekend before. And, but I mean, obviously there's so many good memories throughout the week between our practice rounds on Tuesday and Wednesday were unbelievable. And Thursday was the washout, and then Friday was a long day. But, you know, that whole lead up when you're just there, just soaking it in and being a part of it is as good as it gets, I think.
Let's jump from Oakmont to the following year, guys. And 2017, you guys are back at Canoe Brook again, hoping to recapture the magic.
I think that like the word that comes to mind is like seamless. You know, there wasn't the drama or the excitement or the finish, you know, that the prior year had. But I mean, Chris showed up and so matter of factly, you know, went out and shot 6 under again in the morning. And I mean, looking back on it is crazy to kind of think about, but I mean, there was, you know, we knew the place. We had done our, you know, we had done our prep the year before, so we had all of the notes, and I mean, very surgically just played both of those golf courses. I think he played another great back 9 in his morning round and put himself in a position where he didn't have to do anything spectacular in the afternoon to be right there. And I think he finished T2. You know,
yeah, I think that's right.
Couple shots inside the cut line the second year. And I mean, I don't even think we had to have a conversation on the course about where we were or what was going on. Just kind of blinked, and then the day was over, and he had shot 8 under, I think it was, and that was that.
Chris, what are your recollections from that qualifying day?
Yeah, kind of a similar feeling, I guess, to what, for some reason, I just felt very comfortable and confident on that property that day. And I don't know why, really. I mean, I hadn't played that much competitive golf going into it, but I guess after doing it the year before, I just felt like it was, I don't know, I just felt like it was attainable again. So I knew that if I just played solidly, decent, shot a couple under each round, something like that, that I would at least have a chance to be close again. And I knew that golf course, I just felt very good about hitting those shots. Sometimes golf courses just suit your eye and just, you know, fit you for whatever reason. And yeah, I feel like I just played well. You know, the first year I played a really good round in the first round and then kind of hung on in the second round. And after I got off to a really good start again in that first round, I wanted to just keep the pedal down and make this solid. Don't make any, you know, don't leave this up to any doubt. Just play really solid, be smart, and you know, it ended up working out, fortunately.
Ben, you missed the chance to caddy in the U.S. Open at Oakmont, but you were able to be on the bag in 2017 at Erin Hills. Take us through your most memorable memory of that week.
Yeah, wasn't missing that one. So the year before, I knew that the actual championship I wasn't going to be able to caddy at Oakmont. My mother was getting married that weekend, and my toast at the wedding maybe somewhat off color and making a joke of not being at Oakmont wasn't received super well, but neither here nor there. But I had chosen to play in the Philly Am in 2016 as well. It being at Marion, a combination of of a lot of things, and lost to Jeff in the second round. Great match, and he referenced it yesterday. He was dead on, brutal, cold-blooded putt from off the green on 10. 8 minutes later, I was in the car on the way to Oakmont, so I wasn't feeling too sorry for myself, and was fortunate to get out there for Wednesday's practice round, where she played with Justin Rose, but was in for the full experience the next year. Not that it was a mistake, but I wasn't going to do that again. So, obviously chose to forego the AM. We flew out, I think, Saturday night to Milwaukee. I want to say it was Saturday, either Friday.
It might have been Friday, yeah.
Friday. Again, I mean, I think us and Russell Henley were the only two people on the property the following day when we were out there. I've got a great video of us on the range, hitting balls, only ones out there. The wind literally blowing 40 miles an hour. And the course was just an absolute rock. And we went out to play 9, just us, me carrying the bag, Chris playing golf that afternoon, only ones on the golf course. And it was so hard.
Lost like 3 golf balls or 4 golf balls or something.
Yeah. I mean, on a couple of the holes, like just trying to like reach the fairways because they're like into the wind and it's blowing so hard. So that was obviously amazing, just kind of getting that experience that, Chris had the year before. The practice round that we played, I don't know if it was maybe Tuesday.
It was Monday, I think.
Was it Monday? So we played as a 5-ball. It was pretty incredible. It was originally a 4, and how it became a 5 was awesome. So we're on the tee. We put our name in the book. We see on the range that morning that the foursome is Chris, Scott Harvey, Jim Furyk, and Jordan Spieth. And, you never know how these things are going to pretty good 4-ball. You never know how these things are going to shake out. Maybe, these guys end up dropping out or jumping in with another group, but we get to the tee and everybody's there. So we're doing it. And we get up into the first fairway, and I think Jim Furyk signals to us like, Steve Stricker is going to play up. He's going to join us. And the storyline that week with Stricker was amazing. Home state didn't get an exemption, goes out and qualifies anyway. Was pretty awesome. So the front 9 was the 5 of us. The 3 big names dropped out, and we played the back 9 with Scott Harvey. It was the only day, I think, leading up where we played all 18. But, I mean, watching Furyk drop, like, teardrop 3-woods into these greens on par 4s was amazing. Just watching the way the guys prepare around the greens. I mean, all of it was really quite cool, but the company was awesome.
And that was just a few weeks after your first GAB major win, correct?
Yes. Yes, it was. I guess that was end of May. So yeah, maybe 2 weeks later. So decent couple weeks of life.
Yeah. And Chris, speaking of memories, what was your favorite memory at Erin Hills?
Yeah, I mean, what Ben was just saying was perfect. Like, again, I know I said the same thing at Oakmont, but when you're out there the weekend before, it's amazing. And then Monday was really awesome. I mean, I can't ask for it. I think when I signed up, it was either just me in that tee time or just Furyk that I signed up with. It was just a coincidence that those other guys ended up joining, and just got really lucky. I mean, I got really lucky both years with who I was able to play with, just totally by chance, obviously, just they were really cool about it with playing with me, and it was amazing. I mean, the gallery's cheering for Stricker, giving him a standing ovation on the 9th green. I mean, and then obviously just watching those guys, how crafty Strick and Furyk were, was pretty incredible, because especially on that golf course where it was so long, I think we were talking, Ben, about like, Furyk, they're getting a little older, they don't hit it as far, and then I think Furyk finished in the top 20 in the event. I mean,
he did. It was unbelievable.
Just think the way they played was just really impressive. Yeah, it was a great week. I mean, kind of polar opposite venues in a lot of ways between Erin Hills and Oakmont. with. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome.
Why do you think you two are such a good team?
It's hard to put finger on it. I mean, I think we just speak the same language on the golf course. I think that we competitively view golf and our approach to the game in very similar fashion. A lot of time, and we had so much experience together on the golf course prior to that, because it wasn't the first time, second, third, fourth time that I had caddied for Chris. It had been an ongoing relationship, for the previous 4 years as, teammates and also as coach and player. And I think that, I had a real understanding of, his game at that point in time, and, really kind of what he hung his hat on, and just kind of reiterating and hammering home his ability to hit almost every shot. And I think that, I don't want to speak for Chris, but I think that just having, somebody, speaking the same language, just kind of, making you feel a tiny, tiny bit better about what you're about to do can go a long way when you're talking about competing at that level.
When I first got to Drexel, Ben was a senior, so we had a year where we played together and became good friends, and then he obviously jumped on as an assistant coach and was fantastic in that role for multiple years with me on the team. And, I don't know, we just built up a really good relationship over years. And I think that that's really important when someone's caddying for you and when you're in the heat of the moment like that, to have somebody to trust and rely on. And obviously Ben's an excellent player in himself. So we do think about the game. We think about the game in a very similar way, I think. And just toward competition in general, maybe not even specifically golf, just how we understand each other. And, having a guy like that who just you could really trust and lean on in those situations was definitely invaluable. And I don't know, all that experience when you're traveling together as a college coach, as assistant player, assistant coach, and then eventually head coach, you spend so much time together. And maybe we need to get the band back together and try again.
I don't think that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
He caddied every event I played in with Ben on the bag when we were together. It seemed like I always did pretty well. And there's, like he said, it was other tournaments too. It was other amateur events. I think we went to the North-South one year and did well.
So Chris, you've been pro now for 2 years?
It was fall of 17, I guess.
Okay. 17,
right.
Yeah.
So
about 3 years now.
Yeah. A little more than 2 years, yeah.
And is that going as you thought it would kind of go?
I don't know how I would have thought it would go. I mean, it's been a lot of ups and downs, I guess. It's been a tough road in some ways, and it's been a great learning experience. And I feel like I've made strides, and I feel like I've gotten better. But it's tough to see the results sometimes. It's really hard. And but I feel good about things. I guess during this time, it's easy to kind of reflect and think about what you need to do or what you've done. And, I'm optimistic, but, it's been an interesting road the past couple of years for sure.
Well, guys, it's been a great catching up for a few minutes, talking about the U.S. Opens of Christmas past, but a lot of great experiences, a lot of great memories. So once again, Chris and Ben, thanks for your time today. Chris, all the best. Hopefully we'll be talking to you soon enough.
Thanks, guys.
For Gap Zoom, this is Marty Emino along with Tony Regina, Dan Schofield, Ben Feld, and Chris Crawford. And we'll see you down the line. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeehaw!